Guys, it's me, and I'm coming to you today with another exciting edition of Ask an Aquarius. Okay, so I wanted to finish talking about abuse. The last time we chit chatted, I talked about physical abuse. So now I'm going to talk about emotional and mental abuse. Emotional and mental abuse usually go hand in hand because they're done in a similar way and they affect those areas. Mental abuse obviously is when you attack someone mentally, like you play games with their mind, you tell them things that isn't true, you tell them things that is true but make them think it's not true. You play all kinds of games with these people, mental games. Emotional abuse is the same thing. You play emotional games with them. You tell them you love them when you don't. All kinds of like emotional things. Like if you're an emotional person who is like for instance, Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, they're very strong emotionally. They have a lot of emotional energy, so they use the energy against you, basically. And this happens. This can happen really with any sign, but those are the signs that have the strongest emotional energy. So they like, and they're also the signs that are more likely to be emotionally abusive. Um, Signs that are likely to be mentally abusive are Aries. Aries. And Aquarius is another one, very, very high up there with mental abuse. And that's because these are really smart signs and they're very controlling signs at times. So you have to deal with that energy as well. Now, emotional and mental abuse is just when the person does things to you, harmful things to you. Sometimes they tell you you're stupid, sometimes, and that's why these go together because they can work on your mind but affect your heart and vice versa. So they tell you you're stupid, they tell you you'll never amount to anything. They try to tear you down. They say cruel things to you for no fucking reason at all. Like you could just be chilling and they just be like, you know what? I hate when you do your face like that, or I can't stand looking at you. Get out of my face. They'll do things like that for no reason. You'll be sitting there like, well, we were just chilling. Like what happened? Um, Emotionally and mentally abusive people will often try to tell you what's true isn't true, and they're always going back to the past and trying to rewrite it. So whatever happened in the past, that made them look bad, they're always trying to rewrite it and make it your fault. So if you say, well, you did this to me, then they'll say, well, you did that to me. If you say, well, you abused me, they're like, oh, you abused me too, you yelled at me in front of my mom. They'll try to twist your words. They'll turn things into what they're not. They're usually really smart people, or they think they're smart people, because remember, I was telling you guys, you have to be pretty smart to really play good mind games on a person. Otherwise it just comes off like you sounding stupid. So that's emotional and mental abuse. A lot of people are experiencing that. When you have a person that's always gossiping about you, talking negatively about you, telling your business behind your back, coming at you, even if they don't come at you specifically, like sometimes misogynists online will talk negatively about women, just to hurt all the women that are in the thread. It's just to hurt people. It's mentally and emotionally doing things to hurt people, most of the time for no reason. Trolls are very emotionally and mentally abusive. They'll tell you things like, go kill yourself. Whenever you're saying cruel, negative things like that to people, you're being emotionally and mentally abusive. And it's not cool. It's really fucking disgusting. And people do it all the time online. I know you've all been in a thread where somebody says some really fucked up shit. And some of the times it's like not even called for. This woman the other day, she made a statement in the room, and she said, does anybody else here stock up on medicine before they leave the country to go other places, because certain countries don't have certain medicines. So she was saying that she stocks up on like inhalers or something like that. So the guy responded and he said, no, you're the only one who stocks up on poison before you go somewhere. Like, what was that for? And as soon as I read it and I looked at his picture, I was like, he's emotionally and mentally abusive, because he feels the need to come at people. That's what we call in the hood, coming at people. If you find yourself coming at people all the time, or people coming at you all the time, that's mental and emotional abuse. It's no point to that. I told you guys once before, we're supposed to breathe life into each other. We're supposed to be helpful to each other. We're supposed to be kind to each other whenever possible. Now, I'm Aquarius, so I teeter-totter with that very often because my temper is not good. So sometimes people say things to me and they think my responses are harsh. But my thing is that I probably gave you three very, very comforting responses before you made me say, look, I've had just about enough. But an emotional and mentally abusive person, they don't even try to give you a comforting response. They just go right to nasty, right to harsh, right to negative, you know? So the idea is to try to be comforting in your responses, to try to be kind in your responses. And if you can't be, don't say nothing. If somebody says something and I'm looking at them like, look at this shit, I just don't say nothing. I don't say nothing at all. Let them just rock out and go do what they got to do. Leave them alone. Like they said before, if you can't help somebody, at least don't hurt them. So that's emotional and mental abuse. A lot of people experience this. It's one of the most common, these are the most common forms of abuse because treachery, deceit, all that falls under these kind of things. Playing with somebody, cheating on them is emotional abuse. Having sex with their friends and family is also emotional abuse because people do stuff like that just to be hurtful towards you. All that kind of stuff is under emotional abuse. And like I said, it's emotional and mental abuse are the most common forms of abuse because our society is really violent and people don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you're online and you see somebody come at somebody else for something stupid, you don't think about like how crazy that just was. Like, when I see these things online, I'm looking like, what is wrong with you? So most people don't even think about it and they don't realize how unhealthy and sick the person is. And if you find yourself being emotionally abused, you have to get away from that person. You got to stop talking to them. You got to not listen to them anymore because they're going to keep trying to tear you down. I said in another video, I was talking about Voldemort. Voldemort was famous for this energy. And the effects of it can last a long time because when you get beat up, your bruises heal within a week or two, maybe 3. When you get emotionally and mentally abused, those scars sometimes never go away. I've seen people go into catatonic states, end up in insane asylums, things like that, because of emotional and mental abuse. It's like something in your psyche just snaps. And if you have a strong psyche, you'll be able to push back past it. You'll be able to heal past it, get a therapist, get some self-help books, cry, release that bad energy, be around more gentle people. When I first broke up or stopped seeing my situationship with Voldemort, I was always around gentle people. My best friend at that time was a Libra. I made sure I went towards more gentle, more peaceful energies, more harmonious energies. So, so that was something that helped me a lot too. So if you're going through this, that's what you want to do. You want to be around peaceful people, positive people. You preferably should get a therapist, If you don't want to go to therapy, you should get some self-help. There are all kinds of books online. Louise L. Hay, has one called You Can Heal Your Life. I recommend that one a lot. And after we finish talking, I'm going to put some things in the comments for some people who might be experiencing this, some links that could help you. But yeah, Louise L. Hay has a book that I use often with my clients. And you also need to do some loving yourself work. She has a book called the Love Yourself Workbook. They're very inexpensive online. You can get them on Amazon for like $2. And the Love Yourself book is important because if you're being abused in any way, there's some part of you that's not loving yourself. Because if you love yourself, you're not going to allow a person to abuse you, period. So if you're being abused in any way, that you need to do some self-love work too. And if you're past the abuse, you still need to do the self-love work to make sure you don't draw another abuser. Because many of us will draw multiple abusers. Many of us have been abused from like our mothers and our fathers, or both, or one or the other. Then we're abused by our bosses. We're abused by our husband or our wife. Our kids run all over us. Our friends use us like a doormat. So a lot of people who have been abused draw other abusive, mentally, emotionally abusive relationships to us. So if you're one of those people, you have to work on this energy or you'll keep drawing this for the rest of your life. And, you might not make it. You know, I wouldn't have made it through too many more Voldemorts. That's how I knew to stop right there. You know, I wouldn't have made it through too many more emotional abuses. Like that was it. I had already been through shit with my parents. I had already been through shit with exes. I'd already been through stuff, you know, with ex situationships, I'm gonna call them. I'd already been through stuff, so I knew I didn't have another one in me. One more would have killed me. I knew it. I had to change. You know, so as far as you're concerned, if you're in these situations, please take a look at the links I have below and get a therapist. Get somebody that, you know, some people use their spiritual counsel. If you have good spiritual counsel that you trust, you could use that. I more so recommend therapy, you know, or maybe a combination of both. When I was doing it, I went to therapy and I was doing my work to be a priestess. I was doing spiritual work. I was doing all kinds of spiritual work with crystals and forgiveness and meditations and all kind of stuff. So they do go hand in hand. Using them both together does help best. Okay? So that's emotional and mental abuse. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. See you later.